Hi, my name is Ira. I'm the person behind Easily Made Patterns. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this cute baby girl dress. Overall, I would say it is a very good project for a beginner. It is easy to make. You will also learn a few very useful techniques, for example, how to thread the elastic through the casting, how to gather the skirt, how to bind the armholes. So if you're new to sewing, this is the good start. You'll need about 1 yard of fabric for this dress. I used stretchy chiffon and it worked out really well. I think any lightweight knit would work really well. But you can also use woven fabric. Just make sure to finish all the raw edges to prevent them from fraying. First thing you're going to need is the pattern, and you can get one through the link down below. It has sizes from 0 months to 6 years old, and also it comes in different formats. You can print it at home, you can print it in a copy shop, you can use home projector if this is something you're into. It also comes with a step-by-step photo tutorial, but of course I will show all the steps here in this video. So let's start. First step is to cut out all the pattern pieces from the fabric of your choice. Be sure to transfer all the marks and notches from the pattern to your fabric. After you've cut out your pattern pieces, you will have 2 bodices, front and back. They're exactly the same. Then 2 binding strips for the armhole, 2 ruffle pieces for the top. And for the skirt, 2 identical rectangular pieces, front skirt and back skirt. Next step is to sew the side seams. Use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. As you can see, I'm using here walking foot. It is very helpful when sewing knits. It prevents fabric from stretching. Next, press the seam allowance open. Now take the binding piece and fold it in half lengthwise and press with iron. Now take your bodice piece, turn it right side out. Take your binding piece, align the raw edges like this, and spin all the way around the armhole. Now sew a binding to the armhole 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge. Fold the binding under to the wrong side of the bodice and press with iron. Secure folded binding with pins. Now stitch close to the folded edge of the bias facing. And this is how it looks from the right side and from the wrong side. Now let's give it a final press. Trim any excess bias tape on each side. And now repeat for the other side. Lay 2 ruffle pieces right sides together and sew the straight sides. Press the seam open. And that's the ruffle. So next step is to finish the raw edge. Knits don't fray, so you can leave it as is, you can leave it raw, or the easiest way to finish the edge, I think, is to use a rolled hem foot that looks like this and make a rolled hem. If you don't have this foot, you can do a double or single folded hem. So fold the raw edge 1/4 inch, once or twice for double folded hem, and sew along the inner fold. So fold it once, then fold it once more, wrong sides together, and sew to keep in place. I will be doing a single folded hem. See how I'm folding as I sew? I find it the easiest way, easier than pressing and then sewing. It's okay to have some space between the needle and the edge, because after you're finished, you can always trim the excess seam allowance, like this. This is what it looks like. I think it's pretty neat, but if you want, you can fold it once more and sew a double folded hem, but I'm gonna leave it like this. Now it's time to attach ruffle to the bodice. Ruffle piece has 4 notches that should line up with the armhole edges. Place the ruffle over the top of the bodice, both right side of the ruffle and the bodice facing up. Align centers of each ruffle piece to the center of the bodice and match the edges of the bodice to the notches on the ruffle. Sew 2 rows of basting stitches along the inner edge of the ruffle. Stitch the first row 1/4 inch away from the top, and the second row should be 3/8 inch away from the first one. These basting lines will help us later when folding. So this is what it should look like. 2 lines of stitching. Fold the top edge along the first basting line of stitches, wrong sides together, then fold again along the second line of stitches. This will be the casting for the elastic. Pin in place. Sew along the inner edge of the fold. Leave a 1-inch opening in the casting to insert the elastic later. It's okay if it looks a little wobbly. All mistakes will be hidden after the neck elastic is added. Now cut a piece of a 1/4-inch elastic and attach 2 safety pins, one to each side of the elastic. You'll find the size, the length of the elastic that you need in the pattern. Now, use one of the safety pins to guide the elastic through the casting and attach the second safety pin right outside of the casting opening. Detach the safety pins and overlap the pieces of the elastic by 1/2 inch. Sew to secure with the zigzag or straight stitch. Distribute gathers evenly. And now finish the unsewn part of the neckline. And that's it for the top part. I think it looks really cute. Now let's continue with the skirt. Lay 2 skirt pieces right sides together and sew the side seams with 3/4 inch seam allowance. Now fold the hem 1/4 inch wrong sides together, fold it once more another 1/4 inch and press with iron. Sew along the inner folded edge. Now sew 2 rows of gathering stitches, 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch below the top raw edge of the skirt. Set your machine to a long stitch length and make sure you have long tails on the thread in the machine. Now repeat for the second row of stitches. Next step is to gather the fabric. You'll be using the bobbin strings, so grab both of them with your right hand, like this. Now pull the fabric towards you with your left hand. Now you see how it starts to gather up. Now we will continue doing this until the length of the skirt, the width of the skirt is the same as the width of the bodice. Now pull the skirt over the bodice, right sides together. We will align the raw edges of the bodice with the raw edges of the skirt. First, match the side seams like this. Pin the side seams in place. Distribute gathers evenly and pin all the way around. Sew skirt to the bodice with 1/2 inch seam allowance. That's it. Give your dress a final press and you're all done.
I'm driving down an empty freeway, no waiting for the light to change. I'm seeing the sunrise behind me.